Hey there, English learners! Welcome back to the English Pro Podcast. I'm Jessica, and this is episode 17. Today we're talking about something super important: how to agree and disagree without sounding rude. You know what I mean? You're talking with friends or in a meeting at work, and someone says something you don't agree with, but you don't want to be mean or kill the conversation. This is really hard for English learners, so let's fix that today. Why this matters. Here's the thing. When you're learning English, it feels safer to just stay quiet when you disagree. But agreeing and disagreeing naturally is like the secret to good English conversations. This means you can share your opinion while still being nice to other people. For example, if someone says, "Let's meet at 6 a.m., and you think that's way too early, you can't just say, "No, that's terrible." But you also shouldn't just say, "Okay," if you really think it's a bad idea. Easy ways to agree. Let me start with agreeing because most learners just say yes or "I agree" all the time. That's okay, but it sounds pretty boring. Here's a super common one. You're absolutely right. This means you completely agree. Like if your friend says, "This coffee is amazing," you can say, "You're absolutely right. It's the best I've ever had." Another one you can try is exactly. This is really simple and natural. For instance, if someone says English grammar is confusing, you might just say exactly. I feel the same way. Let me share one of my favorites. I couldn't agree more. This means you agree so much that it's impossible to agree more. You might say this when someone talks about how important sleep is, or when they recommend your favorite restaurant. Here's one that's perfect for casual conversations. That's so true. For example, if your coworker says Mondays are the worst, you could respond with, "That's so true. I never want to get out of bed on Monday morning." Polite ways to disagree. Now, here's the tricky part: disagreeing nicely. The secret is to show you understand their point before you share your different opinion. The most useful phrase I know is, "I see your point, but..." This means you understand what they're saying, and now you're going to say something different. For example, if someone says, "We should order pizza," you might say, "I see your point, but what about Chinese food instead?" Another one you can try is, "I'm not sure I agree." This is really gentle. You're not saying they're wrong, just that you think differently. You might say, "I'm not sure I agree that cats are better than dogs." Here's a super common one. That's one way to look at it, but this means their idea is okay, but you have a different idea. Like if someone says social media is bad, you could say, "That's one way to look at it, but I think it helps people stay connected." Let me share one that works great at work. "I have a different opinion." This is clear, but still polite. For instance, "I have a different opinion about the meeting time. Could we do 2 p.m. instead?" Agreeing and disagreeing at the same time. Here's something cool about English. You can agree with part of what someone says, then disagree with another part. This makes you sound really natural. Try this. "You're right about X, but what about Y?" For example, if someone says, "This restaurant is perfect," you might say, "You're right about the food, but what about the loud music?" Another one is, "That's true, but..." Like if your friend says learning English is hard, you could say, "That's true, but it's also really fun when you start understanding movies." Here's one I use all the time. "I agree with you about most of it, but..." This shows you're mostly on the same page. For instance, "I agree with you about most of it, but I think we need more time to finish." Being more direct, but still nice. Sometimes you need to disagree more clearly, and that's totally fine. Just do it nicely. Here's a polite but clear way. "I have to disagree with that." This means you really don't agree, but you're saying it respectfully. You might use this when someone says something about your job or hobby that you know isn't true. Another one you can try is, "I see it differently." This means your opinion is really different from theirs. Like if someone says working from home is always better, you could say, "I see it differently. I like being in the office with my teammates." Let me share one more. "I don't think that's right." This is more direct, so use it carefully. But it's good when someone says something factually wrong. For example, "I don't think that's right. The meeting is on Wednesday, not Thursday." Quick tips for success. Here are some fast tips to help you sound more natural. First, don't say, "You are wrong." It's too harsh. Instead, try, "I'm not sure that's correct." Also, don't apologize for your opinion. Don't say, "Sorry, but I disagree." Just say, "I disagree," or "I think differently." And here's a big one. Ask questions. Instead of just disagreeing, you can say, "What makes you think that?" Or, "Have you considered this other option?" This keeps the conversation friendly and interesting. Practice time. Let me give you some easy situations to practice. Imagine your friend says, "Summer is the best season." If you prefer winter, you could say, I see your point, but I actually love winter more. I like the snow and cozy weather. Or suppose someone at work says, this project will be easy. If you think it's difficult, you might say, I have a different opinion. I think we'll need more time because there are many complicated parts. Here's one more. Your classmate says, grammar is the hardest part of English. You could respond with, that's true for some people, but I actually think pronunciation is harder. Wrapping up. So there you have it. Remember, the key is to be respectful while sharing your real thoughts. Start with easier phrases like, I see your point, but, and practice them with friends or family. Your homework this week is simple. Try using 3 of these phrases in real conversations. Notice how English speakers around you agree and disagree. You'll start hearing these patterns everywhere. Thanks for listening, and remember, every conversation is a chance to practice your English. See you next time.